Well, I would like to begin by saying that it's obviously a great pleasure to open the fifth edition of this festival. And of course, I believe I'm probably allowed a little bit of a cliche on this kind of occasion. In this case, I believe the cliche can be, we never thought we'd make it this far. Yeah? The thing is, it's a cliche to say this, but it's actually and truly heartfelt. We never thought that we'd make it this far, because our work began actually very intuitively. 5 years ago, none of us in the team had prior experience in organizing events of this kind, and we had a faint idea that rather than doing what we could do, we instead wanted to do what needed to be done. Now, what does this mean exactly? Well, when we think of a digital media festival, I believe we tend to think generally of a showcase for cutting-edge technology. And that's fine. I mean, these festivals exist, technology showcases, and they do provide great environments for technological development to be presented, experienced, and enjoyed, and consumed. Yet, back in 2007, when we started working on this, we had something else in mind. We had other ideas, the essence of which are still, in a way, on display in this year's design, our pet turtle. The image of this year's festival is a turtle drawn by a 19th century Austrian illustrator named Alois Zotter, and as such is a way of maintaining that while honoring cutting-edge technology, we do believe there is a lot more that needs to be acknowledged when we speak of digital media, particularly within the context of advanced research. We need to bring in past and present, analog and digital, short-term and long-term. And we need to consider the impact and the dangers and the benefits and the traps, and of course the underlying promise of digital media. And I believe we need to be reminded that, particularly in the social realm, some futures take decades to be constructed, and that stands in stark opposition with the vertigo of digital novelty. So early on, Future Places, this festival, decided to speak less about technology per se, and more about what technology could do for us as a social and cultural fabric. And this meant surveying and nurturing existing local realities, and we're speaking about Porto in particular, but not just Porto, incubating new projects that we believed necessary and possible. They should exist, so we created them. And also, of course, consulting with partners with similar missions to ours. So the last 5 years have therefore been quite a ride in what I like to call social promiscuity. And what do I mean by social promiscuity? Well, this surveying, this incubating and consulting brought us to work with and bring together a very, very diverse group of people. So in the last 5 years, we've worked with politicians, musicians, homeless citizens, hackers, universities, graffiti writers, tech heads, and disabled youth. We invited researchers, DJs, human rights groups, artists, museums, sexual minorities, other festivals, pirates, schools, street musicians, and startup companies, bloggers, activists, and security guards, designers, and cooks. And we brought in mayors, headhunters, academics, media labels, car tuning communities, radio producers, anarchists, seamstresses, entrepreneurs, immigrants, tourists, and people who just happen to pass by. A few examples of that. Well, we have facilitated the bridging of a bankrupt shopping mall that became a music hub with the largest music auditorium in Portugal, called Casa da Música. This is a 100-piece rock orchestra made up of people who rehearsed in a shopping mall, Stops shopping center here in Porto. We featured them first. We actually facilitated the interconnection between them. We have also given birth to the foundations of the first full-time broadcasting independent radio station in Portugal, since pirate radio was outlawed in the late 1980s. Currently, Radio Manobras, which has now relocated to the project Manobras no Porto, and is now operating independently, even from Manobras no Porto, is now operating full-time. We advised the birth and development of Manobras no Porto itself, a 2-year project by the City Hall that invites citizens of the historical center to rescue, legitimize, and project creative activity in their daily lives. We have featured the branching out of Plus Miners, also known as the Portuguese Banksy, for those of you who care, into participatory approaches of collective authorship. In our case, the creation of a prototype of a written speaker's corner, which we hope one day will become a permanent feature of the city. And we have also helped consolidate a series of applied research projects that involve media archives made by citizens. This is a project that will be present during the festival called the Museum of Ransom. Projects that merge industrial heritage with personal narrative, called Stories of Chairs, more on that in a little while. Projects that reinvent Portuguese iconography and visual heritage. So a project called Portugal Portfolio, a workshop in operation. Projects that bring do-it-yourself interface technology to wider audiences, various workshops throughout the year, teaching people skills to build their own hardware. And also projects to apply entertainment principles in social media to health networks. We have also hosted a series of participatory websites, I could call them Future Places spin-offs, that consolidate the mission of social involvement via digital media beyond the festival's dates, these 4 days. So the list goes on, but our time today is short. I shouldn't speak too long. Yet we do believe that, if anything, this heritage vindicates that original proposal, that vision that we have had of media and social involvement. And if anything, we do believe all of this is still the beginning. And it's the beginning because 5 years on, our fairly oblique motto of media and society has flourished not only as something which is a lot more readable in general, but as a generalized activity by people, by citizens. Keep in mind that Facebook revolutions and the like, they were a long way into the future, back when this whole Future Places baby began in late 2007. Yet, we believe in particular that recent developments in Portuguese society make our original motto more poised and probably more decisive. I would say that the major economic dead ends that the country has been facing recently have fueled certainly a resurgence of a specific kind of citizen involvement. A lot of people have been talking or taking the streets more and more often in the last few weeks, as you probably know, as you've probably joined, demonstrating heavily against harder and harder austerity measures. They've been setting up demonstrations on Facebook, recording confrontations with their phones, tweeting and blogging thoughts, ideas, and photos, printing posters. They've even been handing out flyers with alternative national anthems. Yet this word, austerity, which is one of the keywords of recent times, while describing this current financial strain, I believe may also speak of the danger of a lack of social fluidity, those kinds of bridges that I was describing before. So it seems that this succession of public unrest is gradually taking over our daily expectations. We kind of start expecting the demonstration of the day or the demonstration of the week, after the wave of simultaneous demonstrations that took place all over the country barely 1 month ago. It actually seems like a lot longer than that, at least to me. September 15 marked the biggest uprising citizen protest since the Portuguese Revolution of 1974, and this is really saying something. However, here in Porto, September 15th was also the date of a gigantic outdoors music event called the Bandada, which was sponsored and organized by a major mobile phone company. And many, many people spent their afternoon protesting against the government and the austerity measures, and then walked a few blocks and drank and danced the night away, courtesy of Optimus. Which is all good. It's great. Fantastic. I'm obviously not against protest, and I'm obviously not against parties. We have a lot of them in the festival. They're both great ideas, and we all need to have fun, just as we need to express what's going on with our lives. But as far as citizen involvement goes, what I believe is that party and protest are often unfulfilled tactics, because protest is often reactive. It's born out of despair. It's not constructive in itself. And partying is often a parenthesis without a particular purpose besides chilling out. So back to our work at Future Places. In a way, we have been attempting to combine both party and protest, which I argue have been quite polarized, but also merging in very perverse ways. We have been trying to combine them, but trying to reach a balance that maintains the best of both. So really the work that we've been doing is about constructive engagement, meaning protest minus the aggression. And it's simultaneously the celebration, the party, but with a purpose, with an idea of what we want to build. This is clearly quite far detached from the appropriation of the mythology of revolution by consumer products. And so much of new media companies have been doing just that throughout the decades. Just last month, the perfume company Cacharel here in Portugal, in Lisbon, used the September 15th demonstration as the backdrop scenario for a fictitious love story between two young activists in a viral advertising campaign, which actually went terribly wrong because when people found out that it was not true, they decided to boycott Cacharel, as one does. So this is not to say that other modes aren't possible or valid or desired, but it's saying that a bottom-up process of reinvention and regeneration of the social fabric tends to be healthier. We as humans value authenticity. It makes for new kinds of ideas, new kinds of bridges, new solutions, new ways of interacting and negotiating. And most of this work is neither sponsored nor dependent on a higher order, especially because new media is in fact becoming truly accessible. So, back to social promiscuity. These are the kinds of dialogues that we believe a healthy social fabric can engage in. The musician meets the car driver, meets the homeless citizen, meets the hacker, meets the entrepreneur. The DJ meets the human rights group, meets the startup company, meets the security guard. The designer meets the terminally ill, meets the academic, meets the cab driver, meets the radio producer, meets the homeless citizen. The seamstress meets the tech head, meets the immigrant, meets the people who just happen to be passing by. And yes, digital media can play a role, but for that it needs to look beyond this allure of simulation. And we are invited to make full use of what digital media can accomplish, way beyond the narrow constraints of what we are offered on a more immediate level. And this is why we begin with a research symposium. The research projects to be presented today are carriers of this microcosm. Digital media not announcing a brave new world, but actually attempting to unravel a healthier world, which is very, very different. So this is utopia. Yet I dare say that this is also the future that we believe is possible. And we believe this future is possible because we have been fostering it. And throughout these last 5 years, we have actually witnessed the seeds. So the heritage of 5 years of Future Places, I believe, is a testament to our dedication and determination, but most decisively, it vouches for the possibility of citizen emancipation. In closing, thank you in particular to Fatima Saint-Simon and Karen Gustafsson and Selmo Canha and Luis Barbosa. I mentioned these 4 names because we are the survivors of the original team. A lot of people have come on board in the meantime. Apologies for not saying everyone's names. Time is very short. But thanks to the whole Future Places team. Obviously, thank you very, very much to our many partners and the UT Austin Portugal team at large. Thanks for all of you who battled the storm in order to be here today. Welcome aboard. I believe we have by now truly become a family, and this gift is beyond any branding. the gift of this family is immune to any austerity that is yet to come. Thank you.